The Jujutsu Kaisen's power system is heavily based on intelligence and mastery. Pure strength isn't what makes the strongest sorcerers. As seen multiple times in the series, what always prevails is strategy and matchups. For example, Yuji being the perfect counter to Mahito, and Jaku being smart enough to basically beat Takaba twice even with his broken curse technique. Or even Gojo versus Sukuna, a fight that heavily depended on whoever can outsmart his opponent or who can show the highest level of curse energy refinement and mastery. In this video, we're going to talk about the most impressive feats in the series. I would not include things like Hirame freezing a big area or Kashimo's waves. These are simply strength feats and do not show such a high level of refinement. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, but only if you enjoy it. Now, let's get into it. The first one that I would like to talk about is related to Yuta's current performance. Yuta is able to use his domain expansion by only choosing one target for the sure hit. A regular domain expansion sure hit targets everyone that is inside, with one of the exceptions being Gojo himself. As long as you are maintaining physical touch with Gojo, you will not be affected by Unlimited Void. Yuta, on the other hand, did not show us anything related to that. Based on Sukuna's assumption, this is simply due to his level of mastery. He's able to choose who to target with a sure hit effect inside of the domain, which takes a high level of mastery. And what's so great about this is that he can allow his teammate to jump in. A regular domain expansion will prevent you from inviting your teammates inside. Or even in Mahito's case, who had to force himself to exclude Yuji because he would touch Sukuna's soul at the same time. If Mahito was able to do the same thing, it would have been way easier for him, as he could have simply touched Nanami's soul or Todo's soul without even touching Yuji. Speaking of Mahito, he has to be the next on this list. He is the 0.2 second domain. While this is originally a Gojo feat, I think it is more impressive on Mahito. Gojo being able to do such thing is no surprise to anyone, because he's already proven multiple times to be the peak of Jujutsu sorcery. But now if we take in consideration the fact that Mahito is a newborn, being able to do something that only Gojo Satoru was able to do is very impressive. And it's even more impressive when you only seen it once. The next one on the list is Yorozu's Perfect Sphere. Perfect Sphere is something that is said to be impossible to make. This is for the simple fact that no matter how close it looks, there are always contact areas. The true sphere has no contact area, therefore it generates infinite pressure. In other words, the moment there is any form of contact with the sphere, you get erased. This is basically like a small black hole, but instead of pulling things towards it, it simply erased everything it touches. And I think this is self-explanatory why this is considered such an impressive feat. I've even seen some people have it at number 1 for them. And as you probably noticed, my list is not in order. They are all impressive in my opinion, and you are free to rank them however you want. So let me know in the comments which one takes the number 1 spot for you. But this isn't all, as she is able to use her domain expansion. You can then imbue the perfect sphere as a sure hit for the domain. I think that anybody that isn't Mahoraga or simply can't open a domain with more refinement than her is dying instantly, because the sure hit effect prevents you from dodging it. The smallest contact with it will eradicate you on the spot, making this one of the deadliest sure hits in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. The next one is the Iguruma feat, being able to use domain amplification without completely nullifying the effect of your curse technique, basically being able to pause and resume it. In this fight against Sukuna, Iguruma uses his domain amplification, which takes the executioner blade away, but he is then able to bring it back out without having to start another trial, which has Sukuna fascinated. This was originally a Sukuna feat, but I think just like the Mahito case, it is more impressive on Iguruma. Just like Gojo, Sukuna is also the peak of Jujutsu, and seeing a character like Iguruma being able to do the exact same thing as him makes it more impressive in my opinion. Sukuna confirms that if he didn't have that level of mastery, things wouldn't have been the same in this fight against Gojo, because every single time he would use domain amplification in order to defend himself or reach Gojo, he would have to restart the adaptation process. But instead, he was just pausing it every time he was using amplification, meaning that he could just go back to where it was in the adaptation process. And this is something that only 2 characters have been shown to be able to do, Sukuna and Higuruma. The next one is another Sukuna feat, being able to use the Shikigami's abilities without even summoning them. While Sukuna is fighting Gojo using the 10 shadows, he's able to use maximum elephant's water, kind of like a piercing blood. Surprises Gojo, who says that he should be unable to use one of the abilities without summoning the Shikigami himself. He then concludes that it takes the same level of mastery as him in order to do something like that. Once again, Gojo and Sukuna, both the peak of Jujutsu, so it makes sense for them to be able to do things like this. The next one is changing the properties of your domain expansion, which includes multiple feats starting with the open barrier. The outer shell of a domain expansion is very fragile, meaning that when opening a domain, it is very easy to break it from the outside. A domain with no barrier is simply impossible to destroy, meaning that in the battle against a character like Gojo, who has a sure hit that is evenly matched with his, Sukuna is just able to destroy his outer shell because he has no barrier and his zone is wider. This means that even though inside the attacks are clashing, outside, Gojo's barrier is defenseless. This is only something that has been seen from the top barrier users. What makes the open barrier so broken is that because of a binding vow, Sukuna can make his circle way bigger. Normally, a binding vow is a negative for a positive. The negative in this situation is that Sukuna has no barrier, meaning that his opponent can escape. What's even crazier here is that Sukuna manages to trick the system, because not only there is no barrier to destroy, but his zone is way bigger. The fact that you can simply run out of the area doesn't mean anything because you will already be dead. Sukuna manages to make a binding vow without losing anything. On top of this, Sukuna can cancel the sure hit in a certain place of his domain and only activating it somewhere else, because when Gojo made his outer shell stronger, Sukuna managed to establish physical contact with Gojo. With that done, the unlimited void sure hit would not be able to hit Sukuna. He would then cancel his sure hit inside and only activate it outside to overpower the stronger shell that Gojo had. Reinforcing your harder shell is also one of the most impressive things that we've seen. But when you think Sukuna is just way better than Gojo when it comes to domain, you just learn more and more. Because Gojo is even able to extend his area to something even bigger than Sukuna's, while keeping the barrier on. He would then imprison him, Sukuna, and Sukuna's large area, only in a small space that fits within a basketball. Gojo's prison room experience allowed them to be able to make such small barriers. It's just gotta be one of the craziest things in the series. The whole point of Sukuna's range being 200 meters is because there is no barrier. Gojo can simply make it bigger than that while keeping the barrier. In other words, what makes Sukuna impressive in this situation is the fact that he can use an open barrier domain and control how a sure hit effect is going to work. And in Gojo's case, this is the ability to not only reinforce his outer shell, but also changing the size of his domain at will. Next one on the list is a Yuji feat. For multiple characters with the ability to perceive and hit the soul, but Yuji is the only one that can see the line between two souls, and he even has the ability to strike that line to sever the connection between the two people. And this ability is currently working miracles against Sukuna, as he is currently so weak that they are able to match him. Mahito being able to alter the soul was due to his curse technique. It wasn't just due to his mastery or understanding of any concept. Next up on the list, you guessed it, another Sukuna feat. This is the ability to extend the target of an attack. This is something that should be impossible for anybody in the whole series, thing only Mahoraga can do, and this is due to the fact that he himself was adapting to the infinity. The first way he had to bypass it was changing the properties of his curse energy, something that Sukuna could not copy. After going through a second adaptation process, Horaga was able to learn how to bypass infinity in another way, and this time it is by extending the target. By targeting the space that Gojo Satoru exists in, you just cut everything and completely ignore his infinity, cutting the world itself. Everything that exists within that space will be severed, and of course in that situation, infinity is a non-factor. What's crazy here is that Sukuna, a regular sorcerer, was able to learn that, because this isn't something that is only possible with slashes. Technically, Gojo could extend the target of his fireball and hit Gojo with it. It's just such a difficult feat that it doesn't even make sense to think about it, because as Sukuna himself said, it was a gamble. Even him, the peak of Jujutsu sorcery, could not be sure. The last one I wanna mention is a Kashimo feat, which in my opinion is the least impressive in this list. But I'm making the video, I don't know what you expected, was going to talk about him regardless. This is the ability to have a sure hit attack without a domain expansion or even a curse technique. By simply using his curse energy properties, able to put opposite charges on his staff and on his opponent, forcing his opponent to then attract the lightning towards him, making the attack undodgeable, basically a sure hit without even needing a domain expansion. Bias aside, it is still one of the more impressive things in the series in my opinion. I just think it isn't as good as everything else that I mentioned. I could have mentioned the ability to open multiple domains in the same day, but I feel like this goes hand in hand with everything I said about Sukuna and Gojo, them being able to control their domains at will. The most impressive feat in the series is either this one or the ability to extend the target and cut space itself. Let me know if you think I missed any feats that was worth mentioning. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, but only if you enjoy. Click here at the top of your screen if you wanna support my channel. Right here you have multiple options on your screen. You could watch one of those 2 videos that you will for sure enjoy. You could simply click the link on my channel so you can just look at everything I have. By looking at all the options you have, you may find what's perfect for you. I appreciate you all for making it to this point, and I will see you all next time. Peace.